February 15th, 2023. David Oreck died at 99. The company he built was already gone. It had been sold at a bankruptcy auction nearly a decade earlier to a corporation listed in Hong Kong. At its peak, Oreck generated over $400 million in annual revenue, carried zero debt, and had put its £8 vacuum cleaner inside more than 50,000 hotels worldwide. Then the family sold it in 2003. 10 years later, it was bankrupt. How does a debt-free $400 million company collapse in a single decade? The man. September 17th, 1923, David Irving Oreck was born in Duluth, Minnesota, the eldest son of Abe Oreck and Sheba Polanski. He was a small, red-headed kid who constantly got into fights with bigger children. That scrappiness never left him. He dropped out of his freshman year of college to join the Army Air Corps. He served in the Pacific Theater as a B-29 navigator. His wartime experiences built something in him, a deep, lasting commitment to American-made products and American workers. After the war, Oreck moved to New York City. He went to work at Bruno, New York. Bruno, New York was the exclusive distributor for RCA television sets and Whirlpool appliances across New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. Oreck had no sales experience. He learned everything there. He was good at it. He was very good at it. He worked his way up over 17 years until he became the company's general sales manager, helping bring washing machines, microwave ovens, and color televisions into American homes for the first time. Then, in 1963, a phone call changed everything. The RCA distributorship, covering Louisiana and Mississippi, was failing. RCA needed someone to take it over. They called Oreck. He flew to New Orleans the same day. He stepped off the plane in his heavy winter overcoat and felt the warm Louisiana sun. He later said that he told himself, "Wow, I'm missing something here." He took the job. The distributorship came with something unexpected, an abandoned vacuum cleaner design. Whirlpool had developed an upright vacuum cleaner but never brought it to market. Their largest retail customer was Sears. Sears was concerned that a Whirlpool vacuum sold through other channels would compete directly with the vacuums already on Sears shelves. So Whirlpool walked away from the design entirely. Oreck took it. In 1963, vacuum cleaners weighed between 20 and 25 pounds. Every major brand, Hoover and Electrolux, built heavy machines. The industry had trained consumers to believe that a heavier vacuum meant a better vacuum. Weight was the signal of quality. Bags were the business model. Oreck's abandoned design weighed 8 pounds. That was 1/3 the weight of every competing machine on the market. Nobody believed it would work. The rise. Nobody in the vacuum industry took David Oreck seriously. In 1963, the vacuum cleaner market was owned by two giants. Hoover held the largest share of the American market. Electrolux was right behind it. Both companies built machines that weighed between 20 and 25 pounds. Both companies sold those machines off showroom floors. Both companies made their real money selling replacement bags, consumables that customers needed to buy again and again, every single month, for as long as they owned the machine. The industry had one belief: heavier meant better. A heavy machine signaled power. A heavy machine signaled durability. Weight was not a flaw. Weight was the sales pitch. Then David Oreck showed up with an 8-pound vacuum and tried to sell it by mail. The competitors laughed. Dealers refused to carry it. Industry insiders called it a toy. An 8-pound vacuum, they said, simply could not clean. It was too light. It would break. No serious customer would buy it. Oreck needed to prove them wrong, and he needed to do it fast. He found his proof inside hotels. Think about what a hotel housekeeper's job actually looks like. She is not cleaning one room. She is cleaning 15 rooms per shift, sometimes more. She is pushing a vacuum down long hallways, lifting it up staircases, dragging it in and out of bathrooms, and running it across hundreds of square feet of carpet every single day for an 8-hour shift. In 1963, she was doing all of that with a machine that weighed 20 to 25 pounds. That is the weight of a car tire, carried by hand, pushed across carpet for 8 hours straight. Hotel housekeepers across America were destroying their shoulders, their wrists, and their backs every single day because the vacuum industry had decided that heavy meant good. Oreck's 8-pound machine weighed less than a gallon of milk. A housekeeper could carry it with one hand. She could lift it up a staircase without stopping. She could push it across an entire floor without her arms giving out. He targeted hotels directly. He flew to properties. He knocked on doors. He put the vacuum in housekeepers' hands and let them feel the difference themselves. The result was immediate. Over 50,000 hotels worldwide adopted the Oreck vacuum. That was not a marketing figure. It was a client list. 50,000 properties that had tested the machine against every alternative and chosen the 8-pound Oreck. The hotels did something Oreck never fully anticipated. The housekeepers went home. After finishing their shifts, after spending 8 hours pushing the lightweight Oreck across hotel carpet, they picked up the phone and called Oreck's office. They wanted to buy one for their house. They had used the machine all day at work. They knew exactly how it performed. They trusted it completely. Hotel staff were becoming residential customers without a single advertisement ever reaching them. Oreck saw what was happening and moved quickly. He redesigned the upright vacuum for home use. He created a second product line aimed directly at residential consumers. Sales hit 100,000 units per year. Then they kept climbing through the 1970s and into the 1980s. The 8-pound vacuum that nobody believed would work had found its market. Now Oreck needed to tell that market it existed. The marketing engine. In the 1960s and the 1970s, vacuum cleaners were not advertised on television. They were not sold by mail. They sat in showrooms, next to salespeople who demonstrated them in person. The entire industry operated on a single model: get the customer into a store, put the machine in front of them, and close the sale face to face. Oreck had no showrooms. He had no retail partners. He had a product, a phone number, and a mailing list. He used direct mail, physical letters sent to households across the country, to offer his vacuum at a trial price. He used radio commercials. He used infomercials, the long-form television advertisements that were just beginning to reach American living rooms in the late 1970s and early 1980s. And in every single one of those advertisements, he put himself. David Oreck appeared in every commercial the company ever made. He was not a spokesperson hired to read a script. He was the founder. He looked directly into the camera and told customers exactly what the machine weighed, exactly what it cost, and exactly why it was better than what they already owned. Customers knew who was making the promise. They knew exactly who to hold accountable if the promise was wrong. The company eventually sold over 10 million vacuums worldwide. The advertising budget reached $35 million per year. The stores. As the company grew, Oreck built a retail network unlike anything the vacuum industry had seen. He opened Oreck Clean Home Centers, dedicated storefronts that sold exclusively Oreck products. At its peak, the company operated approximately 600 franchise stores across the United States. About 20% of those stores were company-owned. The remaining 80% were owned by independent franchisees, private individuals who had licensed the Oreck name and business model. These stores did something that no Walmart, no Sears, and no big box retailer could replicate. If an Oreck vacuum broke, a customer walked it into the nearest clean home center and handed it to a trained technician. The repair was done immediately. If the repair could not be done immediately, the store handed the customer a loaner machine and sent them home with a working vacuum while their own was being fixed. Oreck backed every machine with a 21-year warranty. Not a 1-year warranty, not a 5-year warranty, 21 years. The warranty was not a gimmick, it was a structural commitment. The stores existed specifically to honor it. Customers paid a premium price for an Oreck vacuum because the price included something no competitor offered, a guarantee that the machine would keep working, backed by a store that would personally make sure of it. By 2003, 40 years after David Oreck took a phone call and flew to New Orleans, the company was generating over $400 million in annual revenue. It carried zero debt, not reduced debt, not manageable debt, zero. The company employed more than 1,200 people across its retail stores, its corporate headquarters in New Orleans, and its manufacturing plant in Long Beach, Mississippi, 80 miles east along the Gulf Coast. The Long Beach plant built every single vacuum on American soil. David Oreck was 80 years old. His son, Tom Oreck, had taken over as president and CEO in 1999. Tom had grown up inside the business, learning every department from the ground up. Under his leadership, the company had expanded its product line, opened nearly 500 company stores, and doubled its sales. The business was healthy, the business was growing, the business had no debt. In 2003, the Oreck family decided to sell it. The fall. In 2003, the Oreck family sold a company that had no business being sold. It was profitable, it was growing, it carried zero debt. David Oreck himself described it that way. Profitable, growing, debt-free. Those three words were not spin. They were the audited reality of a 40-year-old business that had never borrowed its way into trouble. The family sold it anyway. The buyer was American Securities Capital Partners. American Securities was a private equity firm. Private equity firms buy companies with a specific goal, grow the value, then sell it for more than they paid. To buy Oreck, American Securities borrowed heavily. That borrowed money became Oreck's debt the moment the deal closed. The company that had carried zero debt for 40 years now carried a loan it never asked for. What private equity does to a company is not complicated. When a private equity firm buys a business, they are not operators, they are investors. Their job is to return money to the people who gave it to them, pension funds, endowments, wealthy individuals, and to do it within a fixed window, typically 5 to 7 years. Every decision made after the acquisition is filtered through one question. Does this increase the sale price? That is a different question than, does this make the product better? Does this serve the customer? Does this protect what the company was built on? Those are not the same question. And at Oreck, the answers started to diverge almost immediately. The first owner did not hold Oreck for long. American Securities borrowed heavily to fund the acquisition. That debt was packaged and sold. A firm called GSC Group ended up holding it. GSC Group was itself an investment management company, not a vacuum cleaner operator, not a manufacturer, not a retailer. They owned the debt. When Oreck's debt traded hands, control of Oreck's future traded with it. Then GSC Group went bankrupt in 2010. When GSC collapsed, its assets, including its position in Oreck, were acquired by Black Diamond Capital Management. Black Diamond was based in Connecticut and Illinois. In 7 years, Oreck had gone from a family-owned business with zero debt to a company that had passed through 3 sets of financial owners, none of whom had ever sold a vacuum cleaner in their lives. Each transaction added obligations. Each new owner inherited the last owner's costs and layered new ones on top. The company that David Oreck built on the principle of zero debt was now buried under it. Then on August 29, 2005, Hurricane Katrina made everything worse. Katrina was not a regional storm. It was a catastrophe. The hurricane's storm surge destroyed entire communities along the Mississippi Gulf Coast and flooded New Orleans for months. It was, at the time, the costliest natural disaster in American history. Oreck took a direct hit on both fronts at once. The company's headquarters were in the New Orleans suburb of Harahan. Its manufacturing plant was in Long Beach, Mississippi, sitting directly in Katrina's path. Tom Oreck was sheltering in Houston when the storm made landfall. Within days, one of his employees used a chainsaw to clear a path through downed trees on the roads leading to Long Beach, just to reach the factory and report back. The plant was damaged, but it was standing. Tom Oreck made a decision. They would reopen immediately. The company purchased generators from Miami. They trucked in food and water. They bought trailer homes from across the country and parked them in the Long Beach factory parking lot, housing the workers who had nowhere left to go. They called it Oreckville. 10 days after Katrina destroyed the Gulf Coast, the Long Beach plant was running again, making it the first major employer on the Mississippi Gulf Coast to reopen after the storm. That decision saved the company in the short term, but it could not fix what Katrina had permanently broken. The workforce never came back. Before Katrina, the Long Beach plant employed 600 people, half of the company's total 1,200 workers. After the storm, the plant was running with roughly half as many. The workers were gone. Their homes were gone. The housing stock along the Gulf Coast had been destroyed, and rebuilding it was taking years. Skilled labourers who had evacuated had found jobs elsewhere and never returned. Oreck could not find enough people to fill the factory. Meanwhile, the cost of staying had become crushing. Insurance rates on the Long Beach plant increased by $1 million per year for 1/3 of the coverage the company previously held. 16 months after Katrina, Tom Oreck made the announcement that the Gulf Coast did not want to hear the Long Beach plant was closing. Manufacturing would relocate to Cookeville, Tennessee, 80 miles east of Nashville. State officials in Mississippi were furious. Senator Trent Lott publicly criticized the move. Local newspapers ran front-page stories about the betrayal. Tom Oreck did not have a choice. Between 2007 and 2008, Tennessee paid the company $2.6 million in state incentives for training 550 employees at the new Cookeville facility and covering infrastructure costs at a new Nashville headquarters. The money helped. It was not enough to offset everything the company had lost. Oreck was now spending money on a relocation it never planned for, while servicing debt it never asked for, while competing in a market that was changing faster than anyone inside the company had anticipated. The market had not stood still. In 2002, British inventor James Dyson brought his vacuum to the United States for the first time. He had spent years licensing his bagless cyclone technology to a Canadian company called Phantom Technologies. That licensing deal ended in 2001, and Dyson entered the American market himself with a machine called the DC-07. The DC-07 was bagless. It had a clear plastic bin so users could see the dirt being collected. It never lost suction as the bin filled. That was Dyson's central claim, and it was the claim that rewrote the category. Within 2 years of entering the United States market, Dyson had knocked Hoover, the company that had dominated American vacuums for decades, down to a 16% market share. Dyson itself claimed 21%. Oreck took Dyson to court in February 2005, filing a lawsuit in a Louisiana district court that said Dyson's "doesn't lose suction" tagline was literally false. Dyson countersued, challenging Oreck's own claim that its XL maintains suction power. The lawsuit settled in January 2007. Neither company won a decisive victory. The consumer, meanwhile, had already decided. That same year, 2002, a Massachusetts robotics company called iRobot released the first Roomba. The Roomba was a round, autonomous robot that cleaned floors by itself while the owner did something else entirely. It did not clean as deeply as a full-sized upright. It did not pretend to. But it cost $199 and required zero effort. It sold 1 million units by 2004. The consumer's definition of what a vacuum should be was shifting in two directions at once, toward Dyson's premium bagless technology and toward robotic convenience. Oreck's 8-pound upright, built for a hotel housekeeper in 1963, was caught between both. Inside the company, strategic decisions made things worse. New ownership pushed Oreck into big box retail, into stores like Home Depot, Bed Bath & Beyond, and Target. These stores offered enormous shelf space and national reach. They also offered something that quietly destroyed Oreck's core value: anonymity. An Oreck vacuum sitting on a shelf at Home Depot was just another box in a row of boxes. There was no technician standing next to it. There was no trained salesperson explaining the 21-year warranty. There was no loaner program. There was no repair counter. The entire Oreck service identity, the thing that justified paying $400 for a vacuum when a Hoover cost $79, was invisible inside a big box store. David Oreck understood this precisely. He said, "If you don't control your distribution, you'll be controlled by your distribution." He was right, and the new owners had handed control of the distribution to the biggest retailers in America. The targeting decisions compounded it. New management began pushing Oreck toward younger buyers, consumers in their 20s and 30s buying their first vacuums. The Oreck was not built for that customer. It was built for an older, middle to upper income buyer who had cleaned their home for 20 years, whose back hurt, and who was willing to pay a premium for a machine that was light and lasted forever. Chasing the wrong customer with the wrong channel was expensive and produced nothing. Sales began declining in 2010. They did not recover. On May 6, 2013, Oreck Corporation filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection in the United States Bankruptcy Court for the Middle District of Tennessee. The filing was blunt. The company was in a precarious financial position. It simply could not generate cash fast enough to cover its expenses. It had laid off an undisclosed number of employees in October 2012 and again in January 2013. Its former CEO, Doug Cahill, had resigned in March after repeated unsuccessful attempts to buy the company away from Black Diamond. He said on the record, "It's hard to believe a 50-year-old company can be in this bad of shape in 50 days. At the time of filing, Oreck had 96 company-owned retail stores, down from the 600 franchise stores David Oreck had built at the company's peak. It had 250 workers at the Cookeville manufacturing plant. On May 16, 2013, the company filed its motion to sell substantially all of its assets for approximately $12.8 million. The Oreck family moved immediately. Tom Oreck gathered the family. They put together an offer of $22 million, $14.5 million in cash plus the assumption of several million dollars in liabilities. Their stated intention was to move the company back toward its own stores and away from big box retail. David Oreck, then 89 years old, made clear the business had fallen because the people running it had stopped understanding what had made it work. The family's bid lost. The winning bidder was Royal Appliance Manufacturing Company. Royal Appliance was a subsidiary of the TTI Group, Tektronic Industries, a company listed on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. They already owned Hoover and Dirt Devil. On July 16, 2013, the United States Bankruptcy Court formally approved Royal Appliance as the winning bidder for the assets of Oreck Corporation. The £8 American vacuum, built in a New Orleans office in 1963 by a man who said he had a good idea, a lot of energy, and no money, was now a brand inside a Hong Kong-listed conglomerate's floor care division. David Oreck spent the last 2 decades of his life on university stages, telling students what had happened to his company and why. He was direct about it. In his 2013 book, From Dust to Diamonds, he wrote about how venture capitalists had robbed American companies and unnecessarily destroyed American jobs. He was not speaking in abstractions. He was describing his own company. Oreck, the brand, still exists today. TTI maintained production at Cookeville after the acquisition. New models have been released. The name is still on machines in stores. But the company David Oreck built, the one with zero debt, 600 stores, a 21-year warranty, and an 80-year-old founder in every commercial, ended on July 16, 2013, in a Nashville courtroom. David Irving Oreck died on February 15, 2023. He was 99 years old. If this video gave you something worth knowing, a story, a name, a lesson, subscribe and leave a like. It genuinely helps more than you know.